Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Welcome to another special pregame edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, getting you set for the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins. Game number 2 of that second round Stanley Cup playoff matchup. We got lots of info, lots of stuff to digest on the Tampa Bay Lightning. A few things on the Boston Bruins as well. We'll check out the other game that is set to take place on Monday night. Yes, the other series are continuing as well. It's been quite an interesting Stanley Cup playoff so far as we're nearing the 3-week mark. And the good news, probably about 6 more weeks to go, and looking forward to that as well. We'll get you set for all of the games, and we'll look back on what was an interesting weekend of hockey action. There's a few news items across the National Hockey League that we want to get into and discuss with you as well. And it should be a real busy hour as we get you closer to game number 2 between the Lightning and the Boston Bruins. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. We're here, of course, with our regular programs Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, as well live, of course, across Facebook, Periscope, YouTube Live, and yes, we like to be interactive as well. So if you've got questions, go ahead, feel free to pass them along. We'll try and squeeze them in as quickly as we can as well. But looking forward to game number 2 after what was I don't know, we call it an interesting game 1, a curious game 1. We're only a few hours away from game number 2 between the Lightning and the Boston Bruins. And, there's still a few things from game number 1 that I'm still kind of absorbing. I'm still kind of processing a little bit, and I'm kind of working my way through them slowly and methodically. And I'm trying to look at it and see exactly how that may impact tonight's game 2 in this series. Now, before we even faced off in game number 1, I thought that was a real opportunity for Tampa. I thought game number 1 was a big opportunity. Boston had a series with Toronto that went long, went the full 7 games. I didn't think that there was any way that the Boston Bruins could be as emotionally invested in the start of round 2, and they would not be able to match up with the Bolts that way, simply because a couple of days earlier, they wrap up the series with Toronto, and what a wild game 7 it was too. And that's also part of it, that it is emotionally draining. And we've heard players from other teams and all series say that, as well as the physical taxing nature of the playoffs, it is emotionally draining as well. And I figured that was a real opportunity for the Tampa Bay Lightning. In game number 1, this was their chance to seize it, go in, take advantage, and really get a hold of that series right away. And it was Tampa Bay that carried the play in the first period of game number 1. That was easy to see. They were dominating and rushing the puck up the ice, getting chances in again in on the Boston Bruins. And I don't want to go as far as to say that they were rusty, or they looked like they were rusty after having a number of days off from completing their first round series in quick order against the New Jersey Devils. But there were a couple of chances that the Lightning had early on in game number 1 of the series, and it just didn't quite happen. Just wasn't there to get them on the scoreboard. There was a pass across that just kind of goes off the heel of a player's stick. There's a deflection that's directed towards the opponent's goal, and it just goes wide. Or Tuukka Rask would make a save on it. There was just that little bit that seemed to be missing ever so slightly. Ever use a pencil I know most people don't use pencils now, but you ever use a pencil that isn't just quite as sharp as you'd like, not quite as fine, you're not as able to be as precise as you want to be? That's how I would look at the Tampa Bay Lightning and their performance in the early stages of game number 1 against the Boston Bruins. Just not quite as sharp as they would want to be. Pucks going off sticks, pucks getting deflected, things just not going exactly the way they wanted. It happened, and it seemed like there was an opportunity, and Tampa just didn't quite take advantage of it in game number 1. It was there. It was there for the taking. They couldn't take advantage of it. Even after the Bruins scored 3 goals in the third period, one of them was an empty netter as John Cooper pulled Andrei Vasilevsky in the late stages of a power play just to kind of generate something, just looking to try to get something going in the third period with the team that seemed a little bit off, just weren't as precise as they wanted to be. I don't think there's any reason to be overly concerned that Boston comes up with a victory in game number 1, because that's the immediate reaction of so many is, oh, wow, they've taken home ice advantage. They won game number 1 in their opponent's building. Just look at what's going on around the Stanley Cup playoffs in the postseason. This is not an unusual occurrence anymore. And this is something, I don't want to say that home ice is becoming less of an advantage, but it is becoming less of a disadvantage to teams. We'll deal with that as the series moves along. But look at the rest of the series. Pittsburgh and Winnipeg both came up with road victories in the opening round of their second playoff series. And both played in tough buildings. Pittsburgh in Washington, Winnipeg Jets in Nashville, respectively. And those are tough buildings. Those are difficult buildings to get victories. Still managed to do it. It's not as big an advantage because of the atmosphere, because of the game day experience and all the rest of it, as it used to be. It's not as much of a disadvantage to opponents. After 2 games in both those series, Pittsburgh and Washington, and Winnipeg and Nashville, well, would you look at that? Both of those are even at 1 apiece. And, I fully expect that's the way it will be for the Tampa Bay Lightning after game number 2 this evening against the Boston Bruins. Any of that finite level of sharpness that was missing in Tampa's game. And I'm not talking about being completely off their game, being completely rusty, but I noticed as I was watching early on in the game, just not quite as sharp, just not quite as precise as they would want to be. It's natural that you're going to feel a little frustration, maybe squeeze sticks a little bit tighter at that point. But any level of sharpness that was missing should now be taken care of. Practice on Sunday, that would have taken care of it. After the game on Saturday, and now you're ready to go on Monday. You've been back on the ice for a couple of days. You're back in the routine. You're back in the rhythm again of a best-of-7 playoff series. And again, here's the areas where you're maybe not going to be quite as precise as you want to be. It's not just a pass. It's not just a deflection of a puck. But on Sunday at Tampa's practice, what are they practicing? Defensive zone coverage. Again, areas that needed attention after Saturday's number 1 against the Boston Bruins. Also, breakouts from their own zone. These are things you want to focus on. You want to have crisp passes. You want the puck moving the way you want. It's just a reminder and going through the motions one more time of assignments, what's expected of everyone on each of the different breakouts. Also of note, Andre Palat, Braden Point were both absent from Sunday's practice because of body maintenance or personal maintenance. I'm not sure exactly what the correct terminology is now. There's so many different ones, whether it's upper body maintenance or lower body maintenance or general body maintenance to go with general soreness. Both skated at the optional morning session. They were declared good to go by Tampa Bay Lightning head coach John Cooper. So we will expect them to be in the lineup. And on that same line, we'll have the full lineups for both the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning a little bit later. Also, the same lineup expected for the Boston Bruins as well. Miller and Krejci missed the Sunday practice for the Boston Bruins as well. Same thing. Body maintenance, personal maintenance, however you want to refer to it. Also, after game number 1, plenty of attention paid to what the top line of the Boston Bruins were able to accomplish, that being Patrice Bergeron, David Pastrnak, and Brad Marchand, who we may now and again refer to as the Licker. Point, Palat, Johnson, for the most part, had the assignment of trying to slow down the top line. And there's been some suggestion that maybe they didn't do quite as good a job as you would have hoped for. Now, if you want to base that solely on the score of the game, okay. But I think if we dig a little deeper into some of the numbers, and I don't like to do too much math either, but if you look a little bit deeper, it maybe wasn't as bad or as troublesome as you might think. Some suggestion that maybe another line might have some more success. I'm not really sure that I agree with that. There is no denying that the big line of Bergeron, Pasternak, and Marchand, a.k.a. the Liquor, did have themselves a good day. They did manage to collect a bunch of points. But they were also very fortunate and capitalized on the opportunities when they did get them. Just talking a couple of minutes ago about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Early on in the game, they had chances. They were carrying the play. They were not able to capitalize. The Bruins, when their chances did come up later in the game, were able to get pucks in the net. The three members of the top line, Bergeron, Pasternak, Marchand, only combined for 8 shots on goal. 8 shots on goal is pretty good. 8 shots equaled 3 goals, though. That's an extraordinary shooting percentage, and I'm not sure that I expect that continue forever. They also didn't have many additional shots that were either blocked or missed the target. It was 8 shots, and it resulted in 3 goals, which is pretty fantastic production, but they didn't have a lot of chances. It's not like they were bombarding Andrei Vasilevsky and the Lightning all day long. Slowing down the top line is absolutely a focus. Give them as little time and space to get moving and to complete some of the plays between them as they were able to do on Saturday in game number 1. That's key. If the big line is rolling, that stokes the engine for the rest of the Boston Bruins. Tampa defense also can't forget about the others, though, that can hurt you, as we saw with Rick Nash, who had a couple of goals. So while it is a focus on the top line, it is not exclusively the top line that you have to worry about, because there are other players on the Bruins that will hurt you if given the opportunity. And again, I think some of the criticism is maybe a bit harsh for that second line of Palat, Point, and Johnson as not necessarily doing as good a job as you would hope. Sure, if again, Boston did score goals. The top line did score goals. They were successful. And if you can shut them down, it really does limit you. But is the best choice to shut them down somebody else? I'm not sure I'm ready to make that leap. The other part of it is you don't want to get into a physical game with the Boston Bruins. They can be a physical team. I would rule them to be a more physical team than the Tampa Bay Lightning. You want to shut them down by staying close to them, but it's not about being more physical with them. Limit their opportunities, limit their chances by staying close to them. It's not because, maybe we need to be more physical. So when you reflect back on game number 1 and look ahead to game number 2 this evening with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins, it's more than rational to believe that Tampa comes back with a better game. Absolutely makes sense. We have seen it in other series, in other years. A game number 1 doesn't go exactly the way you want. There is a greater urgency. There is more emphasis and emotion in game number 2, and there is a better performance. You can take advantage of similar opportunities that you had in game number 1, where, as mentioned, maybe not quite as precise, not quite as sharp as you had hoped to be. A simple summary for Tampa to play up to their capabilities. We have seen this through the first round of the playoffs when the Tampa Bay Lightning were taking on the New Jersey Devils and did dispose of them in 5 games, but there were different moments through that series where they played a more complete game, played up to their level of capability. We didn't see long stretches of it early on in the series against the New Jersey Devils, but we did see more of it as the series moved along against New Jersey. Tampa would be on top of their game for short spurts and little stretches against the New Jersey Devils. But we looked at the games as they went along and thought, if we can just get that level of excellence, that level of performance for a longer stretch, that's what we're expecting more of from the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that is what I think we'll see more of this evening. They realize the competition they face against the Bruins is tougher. It's going to be harder to compete. Things are going to be more difficult to accomplish. They will have to play consistently at a higher level. And I expect that we will see that this evening. I also believe that Coach John Cooper had the right mindset after game number 1 and was already looking ahead to game number 2. It's not a flattering way to lose by a significant margin on home ice in game number 1. And when you simply, again, look at the number, it's not really very positive, and it's hard to get motivated and excited about it. The whole team didn't play as well as they had hoped, as well as they expected, and the Bruins top line did capitalize on a few opportunities and had an exceptionally high shooting percentage. But the mindset afterwards is, after you put a little distance between yourself and that loss, you realize it's just one loss. It's just one loss in the best of 7 series, or as I prefer to say, a first to 4 series, because you're not necessarily playing 7 games. It is the first team to get to 4. And there will be more urgency because of that. One other note I want to squeeze in on game number 1 before we continue to look ahead to game number 2, some of the other series around the NHL, some of the other stories in the NHL as well. There was a lot of discussion about Coach Cooper's decision to pull Andrei Vasilevsky in the 3rd period when the Lightning were on the power play and down by 3 goals at the time. I liked the idea. Not everybody did. I liked the idea. I thought it was good. I thought it was smart. I thought it was innovative. I thought it was an attention getter. It was a way to get your team motivated and alert. It may not occur in that game, and as we saw, it didn't, because Boston continued to play well and added an empty net goal and wound up winning the game, but it gets your team's attention. It helps them understand the urgency of a short series. First to 4. Say best of 7 if you want, but it's the first team to get to 4. And you're projecting that urgency into your players, even if it doesn't result in a big comeback, as was the case on Saturday in game number 1 between the Lightning and the Boston Bruins. It gets your attention. In fact, I probably would have done it earlier in the power play, because it was the play was moving and Vasilevsky was called in while the play was in action, as opposed to on a set face-off, or when the Lightning had possession, clear-cut possession in the Boston Bruins end. I probably would have done it earlier. You're down by 3. Really hasn't been a lot going on with your team, and the opponent has taken advantage. Get your team's attention. Get them to understand the urgency and the importance of every minute of every game. Realistically, do you expect them to come back in this game? No. But you do get their attention. You do get them to elevate their level of performance and their sense of urgency. The nonsense that was heard on the television broadcast by Brian Boucher. I mean, why would you do that? Why would you pull the goaltender at this point? There's still lots of hockey left. No, there isn't. At this point in the game, you got 7 minutes left when the goaltender comes out, 6.5 minutes left. Oh, you're only down by 3 goals and there's 6 minutes left in the game. There isn't lots of hockey left. Not in this game. This is an opportunity, and that's taking advantage of the opportunity. You have to coach differently in the playoffs than you do in the regular season. First to 4, remember? It may not result in a comeback, an unlikely comeback from 3 goals down with about 6 minutes left, but you express your urgency and the importance of every minute of every game. I think that's a bold move, and I think it's a smart move by Coach John Cooper. I think it was a really good move. Sure, it's not likely to cue the comeback, but it gets your team's attention and gets them motivated. And no, with 6 minutes left, you don't have a lot of hockey. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. A special pregame edition on the Tampa Bay Lightning Power Play Network. Lightning and Boston Bruins in game number 2 of the series. Tampa looking to even it up at Amalie Arena. More on the game this evening. We'll have the projected lineups for both. Not really any changes, but we'll have the lineups for both. We'll look around to the other series going on in the East and the West. Boy, there's plenty of drama going around in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been fun to watch. We'll have more on some of the other news in the National Hockey League as well, and whatever else we can squeeze in our hour. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, back with much more on the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs coming up after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
It's a special pregame edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis on the Tampa Bay Lightning Power Play Network. You can tune in at our website, hockeyunfiltered.com. We're streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, all powered by Primetime Radio. You can download the app now at the App Store. Our Twitter and Instagram handles, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. We're live on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube Live as well. Some questions already starting to come in. A really good one about the Boston Bruins and their lineup as well. Now, the question being is, should Ryan Donato be in the Boston Bruins lineup? And I'd kind of like to see that as well. He was pretty impressive when the Boston Bruins got him into their lineup towards the end of the regular season. He's been in one playoff game, doesn't have any points, but how do you change a winning lineup if you're the Boston Bruins? And I can understand that. Still a young player, gaining some experience in the National Hockey League. I just don't think that it's a move that Bruce Cassidy will want to do unless he feels it's absolutely necessary. Good question, though. Pass them along through our social media feeds on Facebook, through our Instagram and Twitter handles as well, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. We'll get to some other important things about tonight's game as well between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins. Tampa trying to even the series at 1 apiece. A couple of things I expect to see, maybe a couple of things I don't expect to see. The late game as well, once the Lightning have wrapped up and we're ready to settle in and we're not quite done with our dose of hockey, involves the Vegas Golden Knights and the San Jose Sharks in game number 3 of this series. It's been really interesting as well. This one, a lopsided game number 1 with Vegas taking it to the San Jose Sharks. Then we had plenty of drama in game number 2 of this series, double overtime with the Sharks coming out victorious. The series now even at 1 game apiece as it's headed back to Northern California and SAP Pavilion. I'm interested to see how the Vegas Golden Knights handle this. This is the first bit of adversity that they have faced in quite some time. First round sweep of the Los Angeles Kings. They smoked San Jose in game number 1 with a 7-0 shellacking. And not only did they lose their first game of the playoffs, but it was taken away from them because they thought they had won in the first overtime period. The Vegas Golden Knights scored against Martin Jones and the San Jose Sharks, but hold on. We've got to go to video review. And the goal review was done, and in overtime, it was looked at, and I agree with the call. The goal was taken away. It doesn't count. Play on. Wow. Again, a little bit of adversity. Thinking you got to win, you've got to play on, and San Jose comes up and wins it in double overtime on a really nice goal by Logan Couture. So the Sharks get their split after being handed their lunch in game number 1, and they did it without one of their best players going down the stretch as well. No Evander Kane in the lineup. Now, San Jose had played a good portion of the season before acquiring Evander Kane at the trade deadline, but there is no question they became a better team with him in the lineup. Didn't have to pay a huge price to get him. Got him into the lineup. He really seems to have taken to that lineup, seems to have fit in nicely. We kind of thought that a little bit when he went to Buffalo from Winnipeg, and it didn't necessarily work out, but so far it's been really good for Evander Kane, except, of course, for that little suspension thing because of the cross-check. And up until then, though, Evander Kane was a model citizen in San Jose. Jumbo Joe Thornton picks him up at the airport, hustles him into town. He seems to have fit into that lineup really nicely. And I expect he comes back in game number 3 of this series, and he has a significant impact on the outcome. I don't think there's going to be any big scars on Vegas after suffering that loss in game number 2 of the series against San Jose. Double overtime. It's a bit frustrating, but this is a team that seems to have ignored all of the noise around them for 6 months now during the regular season, when everybody, including me, said the bubble's got to burst at some point. It's got to slow down. It's got to come to an end. And in the final part of the regular season, it did slow down a little bit. In the last 2 months of the regular season, their schedule was a little bit tougher, and they did slow down a little bit, but boy, they just have surprised me to no end. I think there's a little push from Vegas, though. Head coach Gerard Gallant was pretty critical of the team afterwards, saying that they just simply weren't very good for a good part of the game, which I found kind of amusing, actually, because wasn't it your team that was up 2-0 in this game before San Jose kind of got it going in the right direction? But San Jose did play well. It's not as if they played poorly in game number 2, but much like the Tampa Bay Lightning in game number 1 of their series against the Boston Bruins, they had some chances. It just didn't seem to want to go. It just didn't seem to want to work for them, and they weren't able to get any scoring. And Vegas managed to get a couple in, and they were up 2-0. However, cue the comeback. Cue the former Norris Trophy winning defenseman, Brent Burns, who kind of takes over. And when he wants to do that, he can have an impact on a game. One was a nice shot from the point. The other was a terrific wraparound play that he made. It's going to be fun at the Shark Tank at SAP Pavilion. It's going to be a fun game. Vegas Golden Knights lineup looks very much the same. For the San Jose Sharks, things could be a little different because Jonas Donskoy is going to miss game number 3 against Vegas. Pete DeBoer, the head coach, has already said he is out. Barclay Goodrow will stay in. Joe Thornton, though, apparently out on the ice. He's not been spoken of as coming back. It hasn't been mentioned, but, he's getting closer. And I think having him around is kind of a good thing for the San Jose Sharks. I think it's been kind of good. Overtime, and plenty of it, has seemed to be the theme in the Western Conference as well, because the Winnipeg Jets and the Nashville Predators went well beyond the normal distance in game number 2 of their series on Sunday. This has been a fun series to watch. If you haven't caught much of it because you've been focused mostly on the East, this has been a fun series to watch as well. A lot of great plays, both teams exciting and pretty interesting as well. It went to double overtime. That seems to be the familiar distance for overtime in these playoffs. But Kevin Fiala, who missed last year and all the fun that the Nashville Predators were having because of a broken femur, scored a beautiful goal to win the game for the Nashville Predators. Really smart, a really nice pass from Arvidsson across to Kevin Fiala, and you can watch it if you see the replay of the goal and it's slowed down. You can see him processing all of the pieces of the puzzle as it goes on. You see the pass come over to his stick. He receives it. He makes sure that he's got it on his stick. He picks his head up right after that and looks to see what goaltender Connor Hellebuck is doing. He looks to see that Connor Hellebuck is moving across the net in a very quick fashion. And he, at that point, immediately processes that his best move is to go back in the opposite direction and tuck the puck in, and he does, and it's a beautiful goal. However, I'll tell you, it's been something to watch this series, though. The resilience of the Winnipeg Jets. A little love to Ryan Johansson of the Nashville Predators, too. He has been something. He, too, also had his playoff year cut short last season because of a leg injury. He has been a dominating force. Scored the opening goal against the Winnipeg Jets in the early going. Had another beauty that he lifted right up over top of Connor Hellebuck. The Nashville Predators, much like I expect from Tampa in game number 2 of this series against Boston, they had themselves a nice bounce-back game. But again, the resilience of the Winnipeg Jets, they are some kind of good, that team. I'm not sure that everyone has realized how good that team is yet. What they are showing, they kept battling back, kept getting even in the final couple of minutes of the game. They had the goaltender out, had the man advantage, and they were zipping the puck around, and it's just, I feel it coming. I feel it. It's getting close. Here it is. Oh, over the top. Yes, it's in. Mark Scheifele ties it. We end up going into double overtime. And that's what happened with the Jets last night. It's something, that series, to watch. The atmosphere that everyone has been talking about in Nashville, it's been sensational. Carrie Underwood, Mrs. Mike Fisher got dragged out to do the anthem on Sunday night. It was fantastic. I think it was a 2 catfish night winding up on the ice. They've got their thing. It's good. I get it. And I think everybody's going to be a little surprised when the series moves back to Winnipeg for game number 3 coming up on Tuesday. Just what the atmosphere is going to be like in Bell MTS Place as well. Not a big building, smallest one in the National Hockey League. But when you step in there and you hear the noise that is generated and what is going on with the whiteout, and you have to find your way through 20,000 people or so on the outside before you can make your way into the building, it's going to be a time. Great atmosphere in both buildings. It's going to be fun to watch that series as it continues to go along. Also looking forward to the sound, the noise, the excitement, and the fun of game number 2 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins. Yeah, it'll be going on at Amalie Arena as well. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the things I expect to see, some of the things I don't expect to see in game number 2 coming up. We'll go through the starting lineups for both teams, the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Haven't touched on the Pittsburgh and Washington series yet. There was a whole bunch of stuff that went on in that game. It has received an awful lot of attention. There's some other NHL news in the league today, so we'll try and squeeze in as much of it as we can in our remaining minutes and get you set for game 2 between the Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles if you want to pass on questions. We had a couple of good ones so far. We'll squeeze in as many as we can. It's a fun day. Looking forward to a good game in game number 2 between Tampa and Boston. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the special pregame edition, coming back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. It's a special pregame edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. We're here in advance of game number 2 with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins. Bees up 1-0 in the series. Tampa looking to even it at 1 apiece. A little bit later on this hour, we will have the starting lineups for both teams. We'll look ahead to some of the things I expect to see, some of the things I don't expect to see in game number 2 between the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Should be a good one. It'll be a happening time at Amalie Arena. A lot of other interesting stories going on in the National Hockey League, whether it's the Stanley Cup playoffs or other things away from the ice. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. And yeah, some good questions so far. One earlier about Ryan Donato, whether he should be in the Boston lineup. It's hard to change a winning lineup, though. You win game number 1. Why do you want to make any changes unless you absolutely have to because of injury? The way the San Jose Sharks are doing in their game against the Vegas Golden Knights, which is the late game on Monday. Jonas Donskoy is out. Barclay Goodrow is going to stay in. Now, on Sunday, Pittsburgh and Washington played game number 2 of their series. Again, Pittsburgh, visiting team, won game number 1, come from behind victory over the Washington Capitals. 3-2 is the final. Caps up 2-0 in the third period. And look out, Pittsburgh finds a way to come back again. It's split. They're headed back to headed from DC to Pittsburgh for game number 3 of this series on Thursday. And there was a bunch of items in this game to chew on. 2 significant storylines in particular. And I don't know which one you want to start with first, but because it was a good game. There was lots of action, got kind of nasty, got kind of chippy near the end of it. I'm not sure the officials had complete hold of it. There was some hacking and whacking and stuff going on in this game, but Washington opened the scoring early, just like they did in game number 1. And Pittsburgh couldn't get going, though, because in this one, Washington scored, and then they scored again, and then they scored a third time before Pittsburgh really got going. It looked like they might have scored a second goal, though. Credit, too, to Alex Ovechkin, who's now got 7 goals in the postseason. Played 8 games, got 7 goals. Leads the team with 11 points. Now, as I mentioned, there are a couple of incidents in this one. First off, the goal, and whether or not it was a goal. Game 2 has the video review of what looked like maybe the Penguins' second goal of the game. Would have made the score 3-2, but 11 minutes left. Who's to say if the outcome might have been different? I don't really think so. But it will leave speculators with enough ammunition to go off in all kinds of different tangents. On the play, the puck got jammed in toward the side of the net at the post by Sidney Crosby as he was coming around from behind. Then Patrick Hornquist of the Penguins heads forward, crashes into the net, and goaltender Braden Holtby and tries to ensure that the puck does cross the goal line completely. Capitals goaltender Braden Holtby does some sort of weird gyrating combination of gymnastics and yoga as he attempts to keep the puck from crossing over the goal line. The play is blown dead, and it is ruled that no goal has occurred. Cue the band. Video review is initiated. And the word from the league is that no view has irrefutable evidence to overrule the call on the ice. And that is going according to the rule book. Now, what of course arises shortly thereafter is a blown up image, close up of the puck as it appears visible. And depending on how you want to look at it and perceive that image, it looks like the puck might actually be behind the goal line. It looks like it is behind the post, which is even with the goal line, but it is impossible to say 100%. Is that white ice between the puck and the red goal line, or is that just some of the snow that's on the ice? And the only angle that we have seen so far is facing toward the net, toward the goal. Nothing's visible from the overhead cameras or the cameras inside the net. The only view where you can see the puck is facing toward the net. And that provides you with a somewhat distorted image. You know what? Stuff's going to happen. You've got goalies with all this equipment on. You've got them in a confined space between the posts. You got a tiny little black puck. It's going to get hidden sometimes. If you want, there's another argument to reduce the size of goaltender equipment. Until there's some sort of chip inside the puck technology or GPS technology or virtual imaging of some source, there are going to be times like this that you're just not going to be able to say for sure 100% whether or not that was a goal. And that's the case here. I can't say for sure 100% whether or not the puck was completely across the line. So the ruling on the ice has to stand. Now, the officials were involved in the game. Again, I mentioned there was 2 significant incidents in the Sunday game. The other one has generated an awful lot of opinion because it involves, well, Capitals forward Tom Wilson and a hit administered on Brian Dumoulin, defenseman for the Pittsburgh Penguins. At the same time, Tom Wilson hits Brian Dumoulin. Dumoulin is proceeding through the corner, trying to turn up ice from behind the net, and is trying to minimize a hit that is going to be thrown simultaneously from Alex Ovechkin. Dumoulin doesn't know that Tom Wilson is coming behind him. At the point of impact, Wilson's shoulder hits Dumoulin in the head. He's down on the ice because he gets sandwiched between Ovechkin and Wilson. There is no penalty called on the play. The referee is also wiped out on the play. He's trying to protect himself and doesn't have a great view of it. And of course, the immediate response is either that was a brutal headshot, it's Tom Wilson, he's a predator, suspend him for life. Or Brian Dumoulin of the Pittsburgh Penguins shifted and moved his position. If he hadn't tried to avoid one check, he would not have been in a vulnerable position and the head contact would not have occurred. And depending on which fan base you're hearing from, dictated which side of the equation you came down on. Word from the Department of Player Safety a little bit earlier on Monday, already come down. There is no hearing. There is no discipline. Move on. He'll be in the lineup for game number 3, which is not what I expected when I watched it on Sunday. And when I was on Twitter, got a few replies in both directions. I don't agree with this decision. And it's not because I don't like one team.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest
I just
events at the best
disagree with the
prices.
decision.
This year we've partnered with
I just disagree with the decision because I think it's inconsistent. And that's the part that bothers me. Here's what troubles me about this. I know the reputation of Tom Wilson. I don't care. I think he's improved significantly as a player. And I think he continues to grow in value for the Washington Capitals. I think he's getting better as his career moves on. And that's what you'd hope. He's improved significantly as a player. But here's the thing for me. Think back to round number 1. Vegas and LA. Drew Doughty of the LA Kings gets suspended in game number 1 of that, or for game number 2 of that series because of a hit administered in game number 1 against William Carrier of the Vegas Golden Knights. To me, these 2 hits are comparable, and here's how. The ruling in this incident with Tom Wilson and Brian Dumoulin of the Pittsburgh Penguins, it said that, well, that's not really a ruling, but the issue is whether or not he moved and whether or not the head was targeted and whether or not Tom Wilson could avoid making the head the principal point of contact. Brian Dumoulin clearly tries to put the brakes on to minimize the impact and avoid a hit as best he can with Alex Ovechkin, who he sees coming toward him. To me, as I watch this play, that does not change the principal position of his head. And that was the reason Drew Doughty was suspended for the Los Angeles Kings. William Carrier was coming in along the boards, plants his right foot, tries to cut towards the ice, but is said not to have changed his position. I'm not sure how you plant on one foot and change your trajectory toward the middle of the ice, but you don't change your position. And because of that, Drew Doughty was suspended for one game in that series. That was the view of the Department of Player Safety. I'm just looking for consistency. I think the way we're going to have to move with this is that we are going to have to get to a point where you hit a player in the head, intent or not, you're going to get suspended. And I think that's what's going to happen in the future. And that's what should happen, because any head contact is bad. I don't think Tom Wilson was trying to headhunt. I don't think he was trying to inflict unusual punishment on Brian Dumoulin. I think that's what occurred. And I think, much like whether or not you intend to high stick an opponent or not, if your stick hits an opponent in the head, you get penalized for it. And I think that's got to happen for headshots as well. One other bit of news I want to squeeze in before we take the next break. Toronto Maple Leafs announced earlier today that Lou Lamoriello will not return next season as the general manager of the Maple Leaf squad. He is under contract for a number of subsequent seasons to remain on as a senior advisor. The announcement was made earlier today by club president Brendan Shanahan, and this is following the 3-year plan that was agreed to by all parties, including Lou, when he was hired to be the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was hired for a 3-year term, and then he would transition into an advisory role. Brendan Shanahan made the announcement and informed Lou Lamoriello earlier on Monday that he was going to continue with the plan. Now, a few things about this. Many are speculating as to what might happen in the future with Lamoriello. His son works for the New York Islanders organization. People are trying to connect the dots there. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. We'll see. The Leafs have 2 assistant general managers in Kyle Dubas and Mark Hunter. Both have done well within the organization over the last few years. It's become a guessing game now as to which one's going to get named GM. Both have pluses, both have minuses. But let's not lose sight of the important fact. Where everybody's speculating, who's going to be the GM? Was Lou staying or was he going? He's going to be an advisor. Okay, what's going to happen? Is Kyle Dubas going to be the GM or is it Mark Hunter going to be the GM? Make no mistake. Brendan Shanahan is the one in charge in Toronto. Nothing happens without him signing off. And I think that gets forgotten sometimes. He's made the calls on hiring all of these men and also head coach Mike Babcock. Don't be fooled by him not getting out in front of the media at any opportunity. He's the one in charge. He's the one who has the plan, and he signs off on anything before it happens. A few other things I want to squeeze in before we wrap up our time here at the bottom of the hour. We'll get you set for the game tonight between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins, both striving to even the series at 1 apiece. We'll have the starting lineups for both, a couple of things as well that I expect to see, and a couple of things I do not expect to see in tonight's game, number 2 at Amalie Arena. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, a special pregame edition on the Tampa Bay Lightning Power Play. Back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Another fun pregame show, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, a special pregame edition before the Tampa Bay Lightning and Boston Bruins, game number 2 of their second round matchup. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. You can follow us on Twitter, check out our Facebook page as well. And of course, podcasts are available on our website. We'll be back again in advance of games number 3 and 4, Wednesday and Friday, same time, 2:30 Eastern time. Looking forward to a game number 2. It should be a good one. I mentioned that, I want to zip through the lineups for both teams. No real changes expected. JT Miller, Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov on the top line for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Palat, Point, Johnson, all expected to be in the lineup after missing practice on Sunday. They did skate on Monday morning. John Cooper pronounced them as good to go. Kaloran, Cirelli, and Gourde, Kunitz, Paquette, and Callahan make up line 4 defense pairings. Hedman and Girardi, McDonough and Strawman, Coburn and Sergachev, Andrei Vasilevsky in goal. For the Boston Bruins, again, same lineup that was playing in game number 1. Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak will hopefully be slowed down by the Tampa Bay Lightning. DeBrusk, Krejci, and Rick Nash on the second line. Danton Heinen, Riley Nash, and David Backes on the third line. Schaller, Corrali, and Achari make up the fourth line. Chara, McAvoy, Krug, Miller, Grzelcyk, and McQuaid, the defense pairings, and Tuukka Rask. The lineup of officials for game number 2 at Amalie Arena: Kelly Sutherland, Eric Furlat will be the referees, Brad Kovacic and David Briesbaugh will be the linesmen. Now, I'm kind of curious to see what sort of game we get in number 2. As mentioned, I expect to see a much more concerted effort from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yes, they carried the play, especially in the early going of period number 1 on Saturday, but it kind of went away. Boston capitalized on some opportunities. Tampa, not quite as precise and sharp as you would have hoped, but I think that will have all gone away by now. And again, I like the move that John Cooper made in game number 1 to get the team's attention. I think it got their attention to pull Andrei Vasilevsky in the third period when they were down by 3. I don't expect that necessarily to happen in game number 2. I don't expect them to be down by 3 goals in the third period. In fact, I'm quite confident that the series is even at 1 after game number 2, and they head to Boston for game number 3 on Wednesday, even at 1 apiece. I like the move. I thought it was good that he mixed it up and got the team motivated. I don't expect it to occur in this one, but you got their attention. There's no guarantee that you're going 7 games. You got to get to 4 before the other guy does. Even if this ploy doesn't get your team back into the hunt in that game, it gets their attention, and I like that. I think that was really smart. I do not expect to see a repeat of that in game number 2. I also understand that axe throwing has become a very popular social activity. There's places popping up in cities all over that offer this axe throwing activity. I do not expect to see another skate blade throw across the ice by Tuukka Rask or anyone else for that matter. That was a dangerous thing to do. I mean, we're chuckling and we're laughing about it, but you know what? That's really dangerous. I know he did kind of look up and he threw it toward the boards. He didn't throw it towards the player's bench side. He went towards the penalty box. That's still a dangerous thing to do, and he probably should have received a penalty for it. I get it, heat of the moment, but you have to stay in control of your emotions. Tuukka Rask snapped it back pretty quick, though, because he was good the rest of the way. I do not expect to see Brad Marchand lick any Tampa Bay Lightning players, coaches, or other members of the organization. Now, there's been stories going on the last couple of days about whether or not the National Hockey League got in contact with the Boston Bruins and asked them to inform Brad Marchand that he refrain from licking opponents. There was a moment in game number 1 where Marchand and Tyler Johnson came sort of close together up against the boards, and no tongue was visible from Brad Marchand as far as I saw, but there did seem to be a bit of a closeness as the two were sort of not in a hurry to separate. I think that was mostly on the part of Brad Marchand, that they weren't really quick to separate at that moment. A bit of nuzzling, perhaps, but I do not expect any licking incidents in game number 2 between Boston and Tampa Bay. But it is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting to watch it all come together in game number 2. The atmosphere has been amazing through all buildings in the postseason, and Amalie Arena is no exception. It is a great game day experience to be inside the building, and if you're fortunate enough to do so, enjoy it. If not, and you can just get close and surround it, you can embrace it and be part of it that way as well. But it is fun. There are teams that have been doing special things during the postseason, as we have seen in the last year or two. Maybe it's someone special that comes in to sing an anthem, some superstar or the wife of one of your players. I get it. I understand that you want to do something special and make the special effort and get your crowd motivated. But I'll tell you something, you can give me Tampa's Sonia Bryson any day of the week. As she comes out, and I love the welcome that she receives when she comes out on the ice. We saw it in game number 1, and I'm looking forward to it in game number 2. It's real, it's emotional, it's heartfelt, and I just love it. And every time she sings, it gets to me as well, because it's not going through the motions. It's not clinical, as mentioned. It's heartfelt. And just when she gets to the last line, in the land of the free and the home of the, and she just kind of has that brief pause, brave, and just, I can't sing it at all, but it's, man, that is something else. And it just gets to me. I'm getting a little tingly and emotional just thinking about it, and I'm looking forward to hearing it tonight. Miller, Stamkos, Kucherov, Palat, Point, and Johnson, Killorn, Cirelli, and Gourde, Kunitz, Paquette, and Callahan are the 4 forward lines. No changes for the Boston Bruins as well. That will be the top line of Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak. I would expect Palat, Point, and Johnson again to start against them, to be the one to try to slow them down. Because they did a decent job, it was just they capitalized on a few scoring chances, but they did not have a ton of shots. We'll be interested to see how it all plays out. I'm expecting it to be a 1-1 series by the time the game comes to a conclusion later on tonight. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your questions. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Enjoy game number 2. We'll be back again 2:30 Eastern for another special edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, a pregame edition in advance of game number 3 between the Lightning and the Boston Bruins. Enjoy game number 2. It'll be a fun one. We'll be back to join you again in advance of game number 3.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.